those goals that we concede because we are so keen on pushing forward. If we get a turnover at the back, we're often on the back foot. We've structured up in such a way to try and push it and move forward, assuming we're going to win the contest, assuming we're not going to turn it over, or assuming we're going to create the turnover. And so often we do get those goals where we go, oh, that looks too easy, but it might only be a few, it might only be 4 of those a game. But this was like 10 of their 14 goals felt like those goals because of how effectively they turned over, how quickly they transitioned from turnover, and how inept we were at stopping that. I mean, if you want to talk about any stat that sums up the game, I think it's the tackles inside 50. And we may have already discussed this privately. I can't remember if we talked about this in the chat or not, but our season average for tackles inside 50 is 14.7 a game. And we laid 3 in total. That like I don't even, and that's not just saying, come on guys, pull your socks up. Like largely that's it's a give and take. It's how Brisbane were able to intercept and then turn it over in a very Geelong like way. And also I do think our I don't want to say our effort was down. I think we're in our feelings a little bit, after the first couple of those. Like, I think there were some players where I felt like the responses were a little immature sometimes. A lot of hands on hips, a lot of complaining to the umpire, a lot of looking at the clock, a lot of looking at the bench. They just seem to be real. And Brisbane seemed to do this to us. We talked about it last time we played them, that the previous time, Tommy Stewart getting, I don't know if he got suspended or not, but he definitely gave away a free kick for dumping Charlie Cameron. Gary Rowan punching Lockie Neale in the chin. Like Brisbane just seemed to be a team that I don't know if it's a vibe thing or if they just have a lot of shit talkers, but from the outset we looked bothered. And we just never were able to go, well, let's talk with our footy.
I think that there's a lot of sort of Hawthorn North about Brisbane. Like I mean the DNA is there in terms of Chris Fagan having been involved in those Alistair Clarkson Hawthorn teams. I think there's a bit about that when they're up and about. They have a very similar kind of bully ball feel. There's a moment when Cam Rayner got a free kick on the wing and he's laughing at Max Holmes. I don't know if you saw that. He's having a laugh because Max Holmes is having a win to the umpire. And I think your comment about the tackles inside 50 is a good one. And that's not just a thing about the smalls either. I want to talk about Shannon Neale in a minute. But just on that tackles inside 50, as you said, 65.5 tackles per game is our average. And normally 14.7 of those are inside 50. That's the average, as you said. So that's 22% of our tackles on average are laid inside 50. So a little bit more than a fifth. But against the Lions, we had 51 tackles and 3 of them inside 50, and that's just 5.9% of our tackles laid inside forward 50. So that's like a massive difference. And let's pivot into the discussion on Shannon Neale here, because he was obviously matched up against one of the league's best defenders in Harris Andrews, a man with 2 surnames. And it was obviously Harris Andrews. So he's got 2 surnames. I don't know. Do I call him Harris or Andrews? Who won the duel. He took 10 marks. 4 of them were contested, 11 intercept possessions. He faced 6 contested defensive one-on-ones on the night, and he didn't lose a single one. So he was incredible, Harris Andrews. Neale had 10 touches, 3 marks, kicked 1 goal, 2. But the notable stats for me, Sambo, he didn't have a single contested mark, and he didn't lay a single tackle on the night. You and I had just been talking earlier in the week about, I think there's 2 key forwards, maybe 2 key forwards in the top 10 in the league for tackles inside 50. And they are Jeremy Cameron and Shannon Neale. I think that was the stat, that out of the top 10 for tackles inside 50, there's only 2 key forwards in there. They're both on our team. So like, I know we can look at Shannon Neale and people will probably criticize the scoring part of his game of like, oh, he didn't take as many marks as we wanted. He didn't hit the scoreboard. But it's the other shit that he does the shit that I think Chris Scott alluded to a few weeks ago when he said he's always played an important role for us. I think it's
Yeah.
that we really lack. Like, I think his lack of ability to break the contests 50-50 and bring them to ground and then apply pressure, like, impacted us in a massive way.
Yeah, and I think he's one of the ones that I think I think it really got to him. I think the being beaten, and this is just, it's not immaturity in a derogatory way. It's just, he has not played that many games in comparison, so he hasn't had to have these ebb and flows because you said, Jake, you look like a team that's come off the back of playing pretty well for the last five weeks. When you look at it, I feel like the last time we played badly, really, was Carlton in round 7. So it's it's actually, because even though we've had losses since then, we lost to the Giants. It wasn't like, we had bad patches and there was frustrations around the game, but we you wouldn't say we dipped in form at that point. It was like a more of like you might call a blip. I think we've been playing really well. I think we've been getting some really good, like, by the Cat standards, when they don't normally like to talk about us. The media have been pumping the gas up a little bit. A lot of the guys probably see a lot of this stuff. Um, so yeah, I feel like this is the next challenge, and there has been people that knew that was going to happen. That this would be the next. It's like, okay, you've been doing really well, um, Shannon. Let's see how you go in a slightly different scenario. And yeah, you could tell, I thought, like, there was times when maybe there was a second effort to be had that he didn't necessarily have. Like, I wouldn't say he didn't like, I don't have the pressure act stats in front of me, but I'm assuming he'd be on there. I'm assuming he would be on the stats sheet for pressure acts. Um, but there was times there where he'd go lay a tackle and they'd hand pass it around him, or they'd step and he'd slip over, and you could see that he'd prop up and watch it go away, and that's an understandable human reaction, but it's not necessarily indicative of how you normally see Shannon behave. Like, I feel like
Yeah.
he's gonna try even when he's out of it. And honestly, in that scenario, I'd probably rather you try and lay a tackle from the ground and give away a leg free kick, because it might give us another few seconds to get struck
Yeah.
off the ball. There's a little bit of that. There's a bit of defeatism about, oh, they got a hand pass away just by a tackle. Oh, they stepped around me. Oh, they laid candy and stuff like yeah. It just felt a little bit like there was some ball watching happening after the fact, that I wouldn't question the effort in the moment, but maybe just the realization that it wasn't over yet. There was still impact to be had beyond the initial contest.